If somebody has a dollar, somebody else is trying to scam them out of it. It's no longer just rich people that are getting scammed out of their money. It's everybody. Scams are getting ridiculous. One of the ways that people are getting scammed, veterans who come out of the military with GI Bill benefits. Now, mind you, these folks had to pay $100 a month for so many months of their time in the military to get the GI Bill. They could have opted out of it, but no, they pay a certain amount of money into it to get the GI Bill. And there are schools, for profit schools, that go out of their way to be nothing but a scam for veterans. They highlight things that could actually be good for people, but instead are using what should be good for people as a way to scam people out of their money. Now, mind you, the VA is going to check. You want to know why? Because it's a simple fact that you have to be certified in certain ways to get this money. So, this is getting set up. Now, a recent military.com article highlighted this, and I'm going to cover part of that, but then I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to explain to you exactly the kind of scams that are going on. And I'm going to explain because two of the schools are of an industry that most people don't pay attention to, but are actually something well suited to the military folks and something that is necessary, which is diving schools. People go, well, it's diving schools, and you only think of it in the sense of, oh, I went to Cabo or I went to Belize or wherever, and I went diving at this beautiful spot. There's far more to it than that. Shipwreck diving or working with universities or whatnot, diving down into shipwrecks or whatnot, not searching for treasure. Let's get beyond the searching for treasure. Or doing other kinds of diving on the academic side actually pays quite well. Whether you're working for the safety side of things or whatnot, being able to dive, rescue divers, very, very necessary thing that is very important. Hey, this is good money for somebody. This is solid paychecks. You can work around the world. It's an amazing skill. That's one of the ways that people have been getting scammed. And I can understand why that, in a valid school, that scuba diving could be used via the GI Bill because while it may not be your traditional higher education, hey, you're learning a skill that will make you a lot of money. Another one that I'm going to go deep dive into is something I've already made a video about, but I'm going to cover it again. It's a church scammed their parishioners out of their GI Bills. They intentionally targeted military folks to be able to steal their GI Bill, to be able to enrich the owners of this church. So we're going to get into all of this. So, hey, if you want to know what's going on with government, and hey, our military and the GI Bill and all that, that's federal level government right there. But I also cover state and local. Hit like, hit subscribe because we're going to cover all that over the time. I've been covering it for a few years now. I did it before I even came on YouTube. Also, uh, one other thing on just hitting like and subscribe, I also have a link tree if you want to go to my other links. And you can hit up my Patreon. Got to plug my Patreon. Now, let's get into my introduction and video. The founding fathers wanted two things for America. One is they wanted us to cherish our freedom. The other was to think. Because if we're making sure that we're thinking about what's going on and knowing what's going on, then we'll maintain freedom because we'll fight for it ourselves. That's the whole purpose of this channel. To cause you to think so that you know what to do to keep your freedom. Now, here's something. Okay, this is from Haley Fuller at military.com. Since the post 9/11 GI Bill became law in 2009, I guess she doesn't understand that the GI Bill's been around since World War II, but, whatever. Offering tuition, housing allowances, and book stipends to eligible veterans, it has also attracted a wave of predatory actors aiming to siphon off VA educational funds. VA administrators the administers these benefits but relies on schools to certify enrollment and training standards. When institutions or individuals manipulate these certifications, the consequences can fall directly on students. Department of Veterans Affairs has long warned that certain schools and brokers exploit GI Bill complexity to mislead veterans into programs that offer little academic or career value. Part of the vulnerability comes from the sheer amount of federal money attached to each student. Under the post 9/11 GI Bill, eligible veterans may receive up to 36 months of paid tuition, housing allowance based on regional cost of living, and additional support for books and fees. This creates strong incentives for both legitimate colleges and for-profit institutions seeking revenue streams. When oversight is weak or rules are manipulated, that incentive becomes a pipeline of fraud. Federal prosecutions show how organized some GI Bill scams have become. In one of the most significant recent cases, the Department of Justice charged 3 individuals with the scheme to defraud VA of over $9.1 million in GI Bill benefits. The indictment stated a massage therapy training school falsified veteran enrollment certifications, claimed benefits for students who were not actually attending, and misrepresented compliance with VA rules. As you can tell, I am not AI. In a separate enforcement action, the Justice Department announced charges involving over $100 million in losses connected to VA education benefits when school officials allegedly submitted false claims for tuition and housing payments tied to fraudulent or inflated veteran enrollment. These cases demonstrate a systemic weakness in how some institutions certify attendance, program quality, and compliance with VA approval standards. Beyond criminal schemes, another major question involves misleading recruiting practices. Investigations by groups like Veterans Education Success have documented how some for-profit colleges inflated job placement claims, misrepresented accreditation, or promised career pathways that could not deliver. Their policy analysis highlights that low-value or fraudulent programs can drain a veteran's GI Bill entitlement while providing degrees with poor labor market outcomes. Significant driver of predatory recruiting was a now closed gap in federal law known as the 90-10 loophole. Under Department of Education rule, for-profit schools had to show that at least 10% of their revenue came from non-federal sources. Surprisingly, GI Bill benefits did not count as federal funds in that calculation, giving schools an incentive to aggressively target veterans to remain compliant. Research organizations identified the loophole as a major reason veterans were disproportionately recruited by low-quality programs. Congress later moved to close the loophole, but its effects linger. Many veterans had already used large portions of their benefits at schools that eventually closed, failed accreditation reviews, or were found in violation of federal rules. Several high-profile cases, like I said, not AI here, reveal the human consequences of these schemes. In 2025, federal prosecutors charged leaders of the House of Prayer Christian Churches of America for allegedly turning sham seminary programs that exploited veterans and service members. Let's get past all of this. I've just given you a whole bunch of information here. In other words, if it's a for-profit school, you need to do the research. You really have to. You have to research these for-profit schools before you get into anything. Now let's take a look at a few examples here. Okay, so 3 men were charged in participating in a scheme to defraud the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs of over $9.1 million with an M in education benefits, including funds from the post 9/11 GI Bill education benefits program. One of these men has pleaded guilty for his role in the scheme. According to court documents, Brian Matsudo of Hawaii, Marshall Scott of Hawaii, Raheem Wells of Indianapolis conspired to defraud the VA. Matsudo was the owner of a massage therapy training school in Honolulu, Hawaii. Matsudo conspired with Scott and others to obtain tuition assistance payments from the VA by intentionally failing to disclose that Matsudo's massage training school was not in compliance with law. Okay, so there's one thing. And massage is past the happy endings trope and everything. Massage is a very, somebody's hurt, whatnot. Massage can help a lot of people, and it's a good career track. Here's another one. Okay, so Department of Justice announced guilty pleas by 7 defendants in 3 separate cases and schemes to defraud the Department of Veterans Affairs. Okay, yada yada yada. This was in 2022. Um, they're saying that this was like over $100 million losses. But here are the 3 cases. Michael Bostic, 54, of Nampa, Idaho, and Eric Bostic of Riverside, California, each pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud in the U.S. District Court of District of Columbia, according to court documents. Michael Bostic was founder and CEO of California Technical Academy, a BA-approved for-profit school that offered technical training programs at 3 locations in L.A. and San Diego. Eric Bostic was CTA's Director of Student Services. Both were SCOs. According to court documents from January 2012 to June 2022, the Bostics and their co-conspirators made false representations to the BA regarding veterans enrollment in CTA's approved course of study, class attendance, grades, whatnot. Okay, so there's one thing, this California Technical Academy. Robert Lanou. Here's another case. Robert Lanou, Judith Lanou, both of Savannah, each pleaded guilty to 1 count of submitting false claims to the BA to court documents. The Lanous were owners of Scuba Shack, a BA-approved scuba academy located in Bryan County, Georgia, that offered 8 courses to eligible veterans. As SCOs, the Lanous made false representations to the BA regarding Scuba Shack compliance with the 8515 rule, the true hours of instruction. Okay, so here's another one. Teresa Whitlock, 55, St. Mary's, Georgia, pleaded guilty to making false statements to the BA. According to court documents, Whitlock was the owner of Divers Den, a BA-approved scuba academy. Are you starting to see the whole thing here? We're talking $100 million here, 3 different groups. These folks were targeting with their schools, and also this, massage therapy, technical stuff, scuba stuff. Think about that for a minute. Those are all good paying jobs. I don't know exactly how much massage therapy pays people directly, but I know that somebody that I know, or there is somebody that I know that gets a massage once a month that pays $100 and something for like an hour of a massage. That's no joke. Every month. And this place, if you have to change your appointment, that can extend it out because these people, I'm always seeing people go in there. I've walked by their massage place. Scuba diving, I am well aware of what people make. I know divers. Some of these folks make. I know one dude that literally got a check for 6 months worth of work. The man got paid over $1 million because of how dangerous it was. Most of this was hazardous duty pay. Scuba diving, good work. Technical assistance. Hey, look at what computers are doing. You need A+ certified computer technicians, Network Plus computer technicians. You need these things, and people are taking advantage of all of this. But I'm going to cover one last thing that I've covered a little bit before I really get into the meat of my argument about all this. There is a church, there was a former church, and this was one of these churches, House of Prayer. Leader Roy Dennis operates a chain of church locations at Army installations in the U.S., with the headquarters right outside of Fort Stewart, Georgia. Former members of told military.com that the church collected GI Bill payments for classes that were little more than Bible study and never resulted in degrees. Overall, the church collected $7 million in GI Bill payments. They weren't just using the GI Bill. This is a church. Veterans often believed that they were going to school that had been adequately vetted and that would have a good return on investment, including strong career opportunities. Will Hubbard, Vice President for Veterans and Military Policy at the Veterans Education Success, testified to the House panel. For too many student veterans, that turned out not to be the case. As we saw with House of Prayer, there were hundreds of students that ended up in a cult as they described. That's certainly not what I think any Americans want to see as an outcome for our veterans. So you have a church. I wouldn't even call it a church. It's not even a valid church that was set up by this Dennis fella specifically to steal from people. You heard that right. Every house of prayer, I've already covered this in a video. This group literally went around finding ways to take mortgages out in the name of their parishioners. So here's their parishioners renting homes that the loans were taken out in their name. I'm sure it wasn't quite that convoluted, but it pretty much was. They were fine. They claimed that they had started a seminary, and these folks would be able to get a degree. And all it was, as you just heard, was a way for them to take this money. They have folks that are donating to this church. So it became a huge scheme. People go to church for fellowship, for all of the things that to bring them better peace. Especially if you're in the military, there are things that you see that can cause you problems. You go to church to get at peace, to have a relationship with God. But you have so many people that start these churches as a way to either be a power trip for themselves, i.e., the cults, or it becomes a way to steal money from their parishioners. And in this case, one of the ways they were stealing money was by making a fake school to steal GI Bill. That is just insane. At the end of the day, you know, I am sure that there are for-profit schools that are trying to do their best. I have seen several of them, heard from folks that went to schools that were considered for-profit that have done great things for them by getting their education there. But most of the time, it's gotten to the point where these for-profit schools do shape things and whatnot so that they can be maximum profit and little value. Yes, you can get a nursing degree from some of these schools, and I have heard that some of these folks that come from these nursing schools are technically competent in what they need to be, but they still have so much more to learn that they could have learned more from a normal school. I'm, you know, do I think that there is a case to be made for private schooling? Yes. But there are certain areas where taking a corporatist attitude. Notice I said corporatist. I didn't say capitalist. I said corporatist attitude when it comes to these matters is more detrimental to the entire industry. A capitalist approach, such as, what is that, Grand Canyon that I've heard so many good things about from people? Okay, that I can understand. I know of another school that I can't think of the name of right off the top of my head. That, hey, let's get back to I'm not AI, I'm human. That it's Christian related school, and no, I'm not talking Hillsdale. That people that have gone there, got their degrees, have come out, and they're doing so much better. And it's kind of a for-profit school. Wasn't majorly for-profit. It was connected to a not-for-profit. But this is what we need. If the school is not looking for profit, I would be more inclined to have somebody go there. Even though nowadays, even our not-for-profit schools are turning into scams, teaching things that should not be taught because it's not true. If you are a veteran, or if you know a veteran, or know somebody fixing to get out the military that are going to use their GI Bill benefits, tell them to investigate 100% where they are going to put their money. Yes, scuba diving is a good thing. Massage therapy is a good thing. Technical knowledge is a good thing. The problem isn't so much that you're wanting to get that knowledge. The problem is that there are going to be people trying to scam this money. They have to be made aware. This needs to be forefront. All of us need to help out stopping these kinds of schools. Just thought I'd bring this to your attention. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. I hope that you liked the video. I really do. Hit like and subscribe for me, because I'm going to come out with far more videos, and you get all kinds of chance. Also, don't forget, my link tree's down below. You can get to my Patreon that way, or go to my other stuff. This has been Paul. Have a good day.